Hi everyone. So today we come to the second last card of the major arcana, the judgment. This has been the most difficult card for me to get to actually. From all the major arcana cards, all the minor arcana cards. Um this somehow it eluded me for quite some time because the whole somehow I was never comfortable with the idea of uh the divine being judging. That was, I don't know, it was very difficult for me right from 13 years ago, when I or actually yeah 13 years ago when I first met tarot cards. This was probably the hardest one for me to understand and to delve into. When I the judgment actually, this card is very easy for people who have grown up with Judeo-Christian beliefs to get this, because many religions do have the concept of judgment day where everyone will be judged for what they have done. This card, I was with it for a long time and I realized, and for me what this card really was awakening. When we in our previous card, the sun, suddenly we can see everything very clearly. This kind of clarity we have never been given before in our situation. And with the sun card, we can see everything. Everything is suffused with as much light that is possible for our level of consciousness. We can see very clearly. So when the judgment come, what this judgment card is, it is when you can see clearly, you have an awakening of sorts. Like you can see it, and finally it shakes you, and you end up making a huge decision in your life, which can be very life changing. In this picture, in the Rider Waite, you can see, Gabriel uh, sounding the, you know, blowing the trumpet and giving this clarion call, and you see people coming out of their caskets, and you have a man, you have a woman, you have a child, which really encompasses everyone. You have the mountains, you have a kind of a big river ocean kind of thing where again, everything is present, and everything is has come to this point where you are finally awake. See, sometimes we can be in an abusive relationship and we are going through the motions and we are thinking and we can see bits and parts and we have upheavals, and then there is this point when the sun comes where you can finally see it. And seeing is one thing, and completely realizing with your whole body and just awaking from that slumber, from whatever you have been doing repeatedly. Sometimes you're living the same challenges and you're living the same life patterns, and you can see bits and parts of it, and but then there is a point after a long time where everything comes together and you really, I mean, you can feel that inner shift in you. You can feel that shift has happened. And when that shift has happened, you will you're very close to making a decision, and that decision is going to be good for everyone involved, even though it may not seem so in the short run. This is, you know this can not just an abusive relationship, it can also be, when you finally figure out what is your purpose in your life and what you were meant and called here to do. You will get that very crystal clear um, trumpet, that shunk sound. You will very clearly see it, and maybe life all along was giving you bits and pieces of information of what you're supposed to do. You went through many things because you had to learn from each one of them, but finally you know what your purpose is. It could be some kind of activism, where you see what is happening to our earth, and you've been wanting to work on it in small ways, but finally you have a clear picture, or you're joining this organization, and because it has affected, whatever is happening on an environmental level has affected you very, very deeply. So it could be many of these examples, but this is also a time where you don't stand on the fence. Maybe there is like for example in Mahabharat, you could not really stand on the fence. You had to pick, whether you were on the side of Kauravas, whether you were side of Pandavas. Like, you had to you had to pick who you are. And who you are, you don't pick exactly at that point. Okay, everything that you have done in your life, every small decision you have made into your life, it has all the consequences of all those actions or all those decisions you have taken in life or not taken in life. All those have finally brought you to this point where you have to decide who you are, and you have to make a decision based on it. This is a time, I always think of Pluto, because Pluto and Scorpio, it rules the other world. You almost like you are like you have been dead and now you're alive, or you are alive in a new dimension. um, and this card, I have seen, is where you think beyond yourself, even if it's a family matter. Whatever decision you want to take, e- it will be good for everyone. There is and this card is also called Aeons, which means a long age. um it's about a situation that you have gone through for a very long time, and finally there is a shift, finally. And the next card, that is the world, is when that shift is expressed in the world, when that inner shift has manifested in the external world. But this is where the shift has happened. uh, in in Osho Zen, right, they talk about beyond illusion, because before this point, right, whatever about that situation you had been facing, you didn't know what was illusion and what was real. So, or there were some real things along the path, but there was also illusion and you didn't know which was which. But here you're really centered, here here you're awakened. In the sacred India tarot, there is the concept of pralaya. And in the concept of pralaya is, again, that's the time where all the good stand up together and they fight against the evil, where all your karma gets dissolved, and there is a new creation that happens again. um, so even in, even bringing it back, so this is happening on a cosmic scale too, and is also happening on a personal level. And thinking about the personal level, uh, like for example, right, I have seen, um, I had I know of someone who was in a, marriage. And they were, and in any marriage there is, there is a good and there is the bad, there is the ugly, there is a terrible, there is a horrible, there is a sublime, there is everything in it. And and then sometimes you might decide to separate, or sometimes you might decide to be together. uh, but but e- but either way, you may not have a awakening. You might feel that, okay, there are pros and cons on every side. But then there is a point where you have experienced everything, and you have no you have no hate against that person. That person must have done horrible things to you, but you have dissolved, everything has gotten dissolved. You have gone through everything, and even the wound has gotten dissolved now. And that time you're awake and you are free. And this is one of those times where you can be free of that karma of the situation. Let's say there was a particular uh, uh, maybe it's your relationship with your mom, and maybe it's your relationship with your dad. Maybe it is a career you had been pursuing for like 10 years, 20 years, and you did everything, uh, and then you had this love hate relationship. But now you are at a point where you know that that is over, and you have no more hurt, you have no more anger about such situation. you have you have learned what you had to learn about that situation, and now you know what is your next step. But there is all the karma associated with it. It's like really this end of karma card. In past lives also there is a possibility of end of karma happening, but in this awakening card, actually that karma can dissolve completely. And actually, this, on a personal level, I didn't even realize when I started this video audio, but I just felt I should go with it, and I think I understand this better now. So this is one of the difficult, or maybe it was personally difficult cards for me to understand. Um, but but if it came in a reading, right, you just look into what that situation was. What is the native asking you, and see how the whole history of how they have gone. And if there is some pending karma, maybe they are on a verge of realization, so help them get to that realization. This card does not happen many times in life. It is, these very it comes at this very significant points in your life, turning points in your life. So help that person realize and awaken to the possibility of what this card means. It's just a tremendous card of huge implications in not just this life, but life after lives. So, this is what this card means.